Let me ask if anyone has question. Dạ con xin chào cả nhà. Cho con hỏi cả nhà mình có ai có câu hỏi muốn đặt ra cho buổi pháp đàm chiều nay không ạ?
Tâm ơi, chị đang hỏi Tâm.
Dạ em mời chị.
Dạ, kính thưa Chan, kính thưa ông John và bà Sarah, con xin hỏi về ý nghĩa và bản chất và ý nghĩa của cái từ quy y tăng ạ. Cái cụm từ quy y tăng con ít có được nghe tới mà con chưa có thật sự hiểu nên con muốn hỏi về cái này ạ. Con cảm ơn ạ.
Dạ vâng, cảm ơn chị Xuân Lan. Dear Jan and John and Sarah, I would like to ask some questions about the real meaning of taking refuge in the Sangha. Because it's something that we don't hear very often. We know more about taking refuge in the Buddha and the Dhamma, but the third one, what is the meaning of it? Thank you.
In brief, when I think of taking refuge in the Sangha, I think about how very fortunate we are to listen to the Dhamma, which has been preserved and shared by those who were enlightened to the truth. So all the great disciples of the Buddha and all the Aryans who followed, who preserved the teachings at the great councils and shared what they had heard and understood, preserving the teachings, making it possible for us to hear. So actually, to all those who have preserved, shared the teachings, no matter monks or lay people, are the Sangha that we show great respect for and take refuge in. Perhaps Ajahn may add more.
What is meant by Sangha, by way of the three gems, not ordinary monk. It's the group of those who have enlightened the Arya Dhamma. Should that level of panya be respected? And nothing is wrong from his understanding of any one of the Sangha, because Sangha doesn't mean just one who enlightened. Anyone, all of them are Sangha, the gems, the group of those who have enlightened. So each word from that person is not wrong, and it's so very useful, because the path is so very subtle. If it's not known as it is so very subtle, how can there be the understanding of that level of panya? That it takes quite a long time to develop, to let go gradually, little by little, the very sticky and very enormous ignorance and attachment and all kinds of akusa, never to arise again, stage by stage. Is that kind of gem? Not as the Buddha, but the one who enlightened, following the teachings of the enlightenment. Because Dhamma is so very subtle, no one can think about it at all. Just learn to understand that what is now appearing is not as it is. From the one word we heard, Dhamma, say, it's a door, it's a curtain, it's a carpet, and so on. What is Dhamma? No thought about it. Impossible to realize the truth that what is there is just one reality at a time, and how many moments, conditions such what is taken for something all the time, while it's not as it appears, because what is there arises and falls away in split seconds. Learn to understand the truth, be truthful to the truth, to respect the truth. No one can change the truth. Even Buddha cannot change the truth. No one can at all. That's why the truth is the truth. If there is no respect to understand the truth, how can there be letting go of the ignorance and attachment and ignorance now, right now? To understand who's the Sangha and respect the quality, the panya at level of experiencing reality and realize the truth, the four Ariya Satya. What is there now, but not Ariya, as panya is not that degree, but begin to understand the truth, level to level, understanding that what is there is Dhamma, but it does not appear as it is. So we learn about the moment when it appears and the other moment when it does not appear, but is thought about, taking it for something. See? So, who do you respect? Not the full one, not the wrong one, but the one who has realized the truth by way of developing with patience, courage, and so on. Kindness, metta, dana, abhayadana, dhammadana as well. Before the ignorance and attachment is letting go, very gradually, truthfully, from moment to moment, until no doubt about the truth of what is there right now. Nobody can change the characteristic of whatever is arising and falling away now, but no understanding, because panya does not develop to the degree with firm confidence of the truth until a reality which now appearing can be known as it is, little by little. Is this true? And how come to have the understanding with firm confidence of the truth? That it can be realized. Those who have realized is the witness of the truth of the four Ariya Satyas. Should that be respected? Highly respected. But without understanding, no expectation at all to the truth, but to other things, with ignorance and attachment. So learn to understand who's the Sangha, those, anyone who realizes the truth, the Four Noble Truth. So all kinds of akusala is less and less until it's all gone, stage by stage. Is it possible?
Thank you, Achan. Thank you, Sarah. Dạ, con như vậy thì khi nói là con xin quy y tăng Tức là ở đây muốn nói đến tăng bảo là các vị tăng mà đã giác ngộ, tức là các bậc thánh tăng. Vậy thưa Achan, thì các bậc tăng thì thường, các vị tỳ kheo thường hiện nay sẽ có vai trò gì trong tăng đoàn ạ?
So according to what you just explained, taking refuge in the Sangha means the enlightened beings. So when we talked about the monks today, what is their role in the Sangha?
What's the meaning of bhikkhu? They just wearing the yellow robe? Or what? What is Vinaya? What is Sutta? And what is Abhidhamma? No understanding. So just the robe wear by those who do not study. But how do you know whether they follow the teachings or not? That's why we can pay respect to that who is monk, but we don't know whether they follow the rules of monk or not. Otherwise, just wearing the yellow robe, is it monk? Be truthful to the truth. This is the understanding of the truth.
And Sun Lan, today, so many people claim to be enlightened, or their followers claim they are enlightened, especially so many monks. We don't have to be concerned about it. When we pay respect to the Sangha, we don't have to think of individuals. We don't have to think of monks or try to work out whether they have understanding or not. We can just reflect on the great wisdom and the great sharing of those who truly were enlightened to the Four Noble Truths, beginning with the disciples of the Buddha and who preserved and shared the teachings. So if we start thinking about this or that monk and questioning, it's just waste of time. Like Ajahn said, so many monks may just wear the robes but not understand anything of the teachings at all. So instead of thinking of individual monks, just think about and reflect on the great value of the wisdom of those who truly were enlightened to the truths and shared the teachings, no matter monk or lay person.
Dạ con đã hiểu hơn rồi ạ. Thank you Achan, thank you Sarah.
Could I just, before we finish this topic, invite you to share with us what you understand by taking refuge in the Buddha or the Dhamma?
Dạ, theo con hiểu thì quy Phật, quy Pháp, tức là quy y, tức là nương tựa vào trí tuệ và nương tựa vào những lời dạy của Đức Phật ạ.
So according to my understanding, taking refuge in the Buddha and the Dhamma means taking refuge in the understanding, taking refuge in the words of the Buddha, of the teaching.
Yes, could you give an example for us? Thank you.
Dạ, khi mà quy y Phật quy pháp thì cứ con nghĩ là căn cứ vào những cái cốt lõi nơi Đức Phật đã giác ngộ và Đức Phật đã dạy lại cho chúng ta. Chẳng hạn như Phật dạy pháp là vô ngã và tất cả pháp là do duyên sanh, thì chúng ta sẽ căn cứ vào đó để mà y cứ vào đó để mà hiểu được lời những cái pháp thực tại à.
So, for example, when we take refuge in the teachings, mean we have to base on the core of the teaching. For example, Intl.Dhamma, anatta. So we have to use that understanding in understanding realities.
Well, we talk a lot about realities, don't we? What is the reality of taking refuge in the Buddha or the Dhamma?
Dạ, theo con nghĩ thì không có Đức Phật một vị Phật, mà chỉ là những cái sự thật mà Đức Phật đã giác ngộ thôi ạ.
Câu hỏi đặt ra là cái thực tại của cái gọi là quy y là gì ạ?
Thực tại của quy y theo chị nghĩ là thực tại của quy y cũng vẫn là dựa trên căn cứ trên cái hiểu đúng ạ.
Là cái hiểu đúng hay là nó căn cứ trên cái hiểu đúng ạ?
Nó là hiểu đúng và trên cái cơ sở, cái nền tảng của cái hiểu đúng ạ.
She said that it is the right understanding based on the foundation of understanding.
Yes, well, it's correct to say that it's right understanding, or a kusala moment based on one's understanding of the teaching, because there can only be the taking of refuge if there is some level of appreciation of the value of the Buddha's qualities, in the case of the Buddha, or of his teaching, in the case of the Dhamma, or of those who have previously become enlightened, in the case of the Sangha. The important point to bear in mind is that it does not require a formal recitation of some kind, or it does not require an intention to go for refuge. But it is a moment of appreciating the value of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, that arises by conditions based on some level of understanding of the value of the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha.
Yeah, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Is there any taking refuge in the Dhamma now, Sun Lam?
Dạ, con nghĩ là có ạ. Yes, Sarah.
How long for?
Dạ, trong từng khoảnh khắc là Sarah.
In each moment.
Just at moments of understanding, when there's understanding of the truth, understanding of Dhamma, understanding of reality, as taught by the Buddha. Those moments there is taking refuge. As Jonathan said, it's not a matter of going to a special place or making an announcement or reciting anything, but when there is understanding at those moments, there is taking refuge in the Dhamma as taught by the Buddha. And the same at moments of appreciating and reflecting on the qualities of the Buddha, the great wisdom, the great compassion. Now, anytime, at those moments, there is taking refuge in the Buddha. When there has been some development of understanding, if there's no understanding, how can there be any appreciation or any refuge in the understanding of the Buddha? So as understanding develops, there is naturally more and more taking refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. But it's just at those moments of understanding, not for half an hour when we're in the temple, or not for an hour during the Dhamma discussion, at moments of understanding.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. Con muốn hỏi thêm cái cụm từ nữa là Đức Phật trong kinh có ví các vị tăng như là ruộng phước điền ạ. Xin giải thích cho con cái từ đó là ý nghĩa của nó như thế nào ạ?
There's another term that I'd like to have some more understanding. Is the term mentioned in many of the suttas, the field of merit, when referring to the bhikkhus. So what is the meaning of that, and what is the significance of that?
The bhikkhu who lives the holy life who lives the holy life correctly, who lives the holy life following the precepts naturally and well, and who develops understanding, is a person who is worthy of one's respect, is a worthy recipient of gifts made by a person with confidence in the Dhamma and appreciation of the qualities of that bhikkhu. So in that sense, the bhikkhu, especially the enlightened one, is a very appropriate object, if you like, of any kind of kusala citta. So that's what I think it means by field of merit. The bhikkhu is worthy of receiving gifts. Yes, thank you.
Dạ, đối với lại các vị thánh tăng thì đó có phải là lòng tri ân, thì coi như nó là cái tâm thiện mà khi mà mình thực hiện, khi mà mình có một cái lòng tri ân đối với lại các vị thánh tăng, tăng đoàn, thì như vậy là đã có phước điền, phải không ạ? Tức là ý của con muốn hỏi là đối với các vị thánh tăng đó, ngày xưa đó thì Thì khi mà mình có cái lòng tri ân đối với các vị đó thì ý muốn nói đó chính là ruộng phước điền, chứ không phải là sự cúng dường đối với lại các bậc phàm tăng bây giờ. Con hiểu như vậy có đúng không ạ?
Tức là chị nói là cái sự tri ân của mình là phước điền hay là cái gì ạ? Em chưa rõ cái câu hỏi của chị.
Cái lòng tri ân của mình á, tức là cái tâm thiện đó, lòng tri ân đối với các vị thánh tăng á, đó là ruộng phước điền, chứ không phải là sự cúng dường đối với các vị phàm tăng. Ý của cái cụm từ là ruộng phước điền đó là như vậy, có phải không ạ?
So her understanding is that the field of merit means our gratitude towards the qualities of the Arya bhikkhus in the old days. It doesn't mean the gift that you might make to, for example, Putuchana bhikkhus today. Is that correct understanding or not?
Sorry, could you repeat the last bit? It doesn't apply to what?
It doesn't mean the gift that we might give to the Putuchana bhikkhus today.
The unenlightened bhikkhus. Well, right. Of course, the quality of the kusala on our part is dependent to some extent on the morality of the recipient. A gift to an enlightened being is a more worthy recipient than a bhikkhu who is not enlightened. A bhikkhu who is not enlightened but observes the patimokkha, the rules, and lives the monk's life well, is a more worthy recipient than one who doesn't, and so on. So generally, when it talks about the bhikkhus being a field of merit, it is referring to the bhikkhus who are enlightened. But we need to understand that it is not necessarily limited to those particular bhikkhus. So the bhikkhu who lives the monk's life well, following the rules, who studies the Dhamma, develops understanding, is worthy of gifts, is worthy of our support in various ways. And in that sense is a field of merit.
Dạ, Kiều John, con đã hiểu hơn rồi ạ. Cảm ơn.
Thank you, I have more understanding.
Without understanding, can there be more field of merit?
Dạ, Achan.
Without understanding the truth, can there be more field of merit? It's just dana and sila, no understanding of the teachings, right? So we can consider in many aspects. For example, sometimes we are the giver and sometimes we are the receiver. Is that right? Or adamas. What does it mean? The field of marriage. Not just one merit, right? Not only dana, not only sila. Can there be more merits?
Like paying respect.
All kinds of akusala in a day, usually in a day, very little kusala. But the more understanding, the field of merit, wholesomeness develops on and on and on. Is that true?
Dạ. Yes, Achan.
So we can understand more about the meaning of the field of marriage, understanding the truth, condition many more different levels of kusala, unexpectedly. That right understanding works its way from the field of marriage. So, how about your field of merit and those who have more than that, much more than that, bigger and bigger field of merits? And when we talk about respectation, who is that the one who is respectable? See, anyone or who? Unwholesome moments, unwholesome deeds, or any kind of wholesomeness. That's why it's not just the word, but understanding what is the most virtuous merit. And how come without the fields of merit, sharing with the other to have a little more merit in different manners, wider and wider. So it's not just think about the word, but understand the truth. Who is the respectable one? Not the bad one, not the wrong one, not the full one. So everyone can know by oneself how much respect to that which is respectable. No doubt. What does it mean? because respect is there to be the witness of the person who is respectable. In reality, not in different kinds of thinking. So we think of Dhamma by way of just ordinary daily language. But in truth, what is it? Which is the field of merit, sharing with the others. So the merits develops on and on and on. Otherwise, without the field of merit, how come understanding? Even right now, not just out of the blue, it's there, impossible. The subtlety of what is there appearing now needs the field of merit to share with the others as the giver, sharing the understanding, and the receiving, and the person who receives pay respect by different manners, dana or sila, pay respect, and so on. But the most respectable moment is what the one who is respectable said should be studied carefully because one respects that person. So it means that that one respects the words of the respectable person. By studying carefully and understanding how great understanding can pass on from the field of merit. Little by little, understanding the most precious reality, understanding the truth until realizing the truth. Because as it's so true, it can be realized, not just for reading, talking, but developing right understanding, condition other merits, on and on and on, to the highest merit, enlighten the truth of what is there now. Otherwise, how come to understand what is there now? Impossible. And that means there is the understanding of what is the field of merits. Another aspect of consider the teachings of the Buddha by different manners, different aspects. That's why there are explanation or commentary of what Buddha said. So very deep. That's why understanding develops to understand very little in the beginning and keep on considering to understand more and more about different aspects of just one reality. Otherwise, how can there be letting go, the very, very sticky understand, taking what is there as something all the time, atta all the time. So what we are talking is from what? To understand the truth of what is there appearing now as anatta. No one, nothing is there as people and things, only the truth which appears but not as it is, until panya is strong enough to let go of attachment to such strong understanding, taking just the word and think about it. But in truth, it has to develop the understanding of anatta. All dhammas are anatta, because all dhammas are anatta. It's not yet sharp enough to understand this moment as it's not anything. Just one aspect of the field of marriage.
Can you talk about other aspects, Ajahn?
You think about the other aspects as well, right? And this is only one aspect.
mới chỉ là một khía cạnh.
I think Hai asked in the notes about the paramis. So these are all within the field of merit, different kinds of merit that develop with understanding, stronger and stronger as understanding develops. Like last week, we talked about Virya and Kanti Parami. So great kinds of merit, especially the Kanti that develops and conditions Vipassana Jnana with understanding of the truth of realities. So all kinds of kusala, including the paramis that develop with the understanding even now.
Yeah, I think it's really helpful.
And another aspect of the field of marriage, is that right? What just Kun Sarah said.
Normally people think of the field of marriage like, okay, the monks, if we give to the monks, then we will get a lot of merits. That is the way most people think. But I think today what John and Ajahn and Sarah said already highlight the deeper meaning of field of merit, that which gives rise to all kinds of kusala. And understanding is what gives rise to the deepest and best kusala of all, and more and more. And I think it's really wonderful to hear that.
And when one just thinks of like the narrow meaning, which you mentioned at the start, just thinking of the dana to monks, for example. So some merit, but when they're thinking about the result and one is so concerned about how much understanding the monk has and thinks about how great the result will be, then very little kusala, because actually one's thinking about oneself and the result one will get and the merit one will be making. So it's not the understanding of truth, the understanding of Dhamma now. It's not the development of kindness or of virya or kanti parami, for example, because one's just so concerned with the result and trying to work out the status of the monk and preoccupied with all these details with our kusala chitas. So some merit in between, but very little compared with the development of understanding, with the development of paramis, not for oneself, but just for the benefit of seeing the truth now, or showing kindness or generosity whenever there's an opportunity in the street or to one's friends or with one's family. No need to think about how much merit is involved. But there's just kindness and giving and showing respect when there is the opportunity, and then gone. It doesn't belong to me. It doesn't belong to them or anyone else.
So I think we can distinguish between the appreciation of the value of the monks and the Dhamma, but the monks, and we're talking about the order of bhikkhus in particular, an appreciation of the value of their livelihood, their dedication, their sila, their commitment to the Dhamma, their interest in the Dhamma, on the one hand, and having an idea of gaining merit by giving, for example, and who's the best person I can give to in order to get the most merit, that sort of thing. So there's a difference there. As Sarah is indicating, it's the appreciation of the monks can arise, can occur naturally, spontaneously, without it being motivated by the idea of gaining merit by seeking or making up a particular event of the giving.
And to be truthful at moment of giving something of food to the monk and to the beggar. Is there any difference? Or someone in need? Is it different from giving to the monk? Only the one who understands who's the monk and what is meant by monk, the follower of the teachings of the Buddha. Is that right? And behave according to Vinaya because he's monk, not lay people anymore. But if there's no understanding of the rule for monks at all, and give money and that which is not suitable for monk, is it helping him to be clean and develop kusala and understanding, or help him to go to the hell? Try to push him. With our support. So would you like to write that? Or to know whether he should be given or not? Or at moment of he's in the trouble, sickness and so on. What about the difference between giving to the one, the beggar, who's sick? So what is that moment? Is ignorance if there's no understanding the difference of one who just be taken for monk and the one who just lay people, no matter rich or poor. But monk is much different from lay life. And you read Vinaya, we don't follow the others who do not understand Vinaya and just give that which is not suitable for monk at all. It seems like we help that person to be in hell. Is that right according to Vinaya? If one does not follow the rule, what would be next life? And what is metta? What kind of deeds? What kind of giving? Harmful or not harmful when there's no understanding? And is it wrong or is it friendly to speak the truth, to help or not to help anything, anyone? Talking about what is there in Vinaya and what is the understanding of who's monk and who's not monk. And monk's life is quite different from lay people's life. That should be known or shouldn't be known, not just for monk, but also for lay people too. At moment of speaking about the truth, is that friendliness, metta or no metta, kusala is kusala and akusala is akusala. And only right understanding can understand what is kusala and what is not akusala, and what is kusala. When it's kusala, when it's metta, it gives to even the ant. Is that better than giving to those who do not follow the rule? And the words about Vinaya, is it helpful? or not helpful. So there must be Tatra Matchata as Upekha Parami. When there's no Tatra Matchata, it's not Kusala.
And without understanding, it can never be known. It can't be known whether now, when speaking the truth, whether it's kusala or akusala at this moment, at the moment of giving to the ant, whether it's kusala or attachment perhaps, or whether there is kanti, wholesome patience at this moment, or whether there is ignorance. So without understanding, nothing is known at all. Or what the kusala is when reading the Vinaya or giving to the monk. Only with understanding can any of these dhammas that Ajahn has been talking about be understood even a little. So it's the understanding which leads the way in showing respect to what is worthy of respect and developing kusala. No thought about should I give to the ant or to this one, because when there's the opportunity for kusala, one gives. But when one knows that the behavior is inappropriate or that it's not wise to give money or support that is not useful to the monk, one doesn't give it. So the understanding at any time, even for giving, even for sharing, even for metta, is so precious. Otherwise, nothing is known at all.
And what we said is the moment of understanding. Otherwise, how can we understand what Buddha said about Vinaya? So the helpful word is so helpful for anyone.
Anh Tâm chưa bật mic.
So is it helpful, friendly, not to give to the one who do not deserve it? Or it is so dangerous for that person to receive? So what about destroying the field of marriage? Or opposite? It's just when there is the understanding of only Buddha can lay the rule for monks to behave. Otherwise, it's so very dangerous. And is that his word? Better to swallow the piece of fire rather than such and such behavior. Is this not the Buddha word? And should we just say what he said? To be friendly with metta, compassion, Is it useful word or dangerous word? If there's no right understanding, can there be understanding what is there now? It's much more difficult with patience not to do wrong or to support one to go to hell.
We can say that in the end, understanding is the field of merit. Ajahn?
Yes, not to do anything wrong to the Vinaya and Dhamma.
Thưa Achan, con biết, theo con biết á, là con đọc ở trong sách của bà Nina đó có nói là khi cư sĩ cúng dường cho vị tỳ kheo thì vị tỳ kheo không nhất thiết là phải nhớ ơn và trả ơn về việc làm đó. Xin Achan có thể giảng thêm chỗ này vì sao vậy ạ?
Chị có thể trích dẫn cụ thể cái đoạn đó được không ạ? Tại vì em nghĩ mình trích dẫn có thể nó sẽ không được chính xác. Nếu mà chị biết đoạn nào thì chị có thể đem cái đoạn đó ra đọc lại thì nó sẽ chính xác hơn được không ạ?
Chị nhớ nó nằm ở trong cái quyển nương nhờ giáo pháp của Đức Phật của bà Nina, nhưng mà bây giờ thì rất là chị nhớ là chính xác nó là như vậy.
Rồi em dịch chị nói nhé. So in one of the book that I read from Nina, and she said that the monks, when he receives the gift from lay people, he is not supposed, or he doesn't have to have any gratitude or any debt towards the person who gives him the gift. I asked her for the exact quotation, but exact quote, but she doesn't have it at hand.
What is wholesome and what is not wholesome? Is that the answer?
Có hiểu câu hỏi đó? Dạ.
She doesn't get your question, Ajahn.
Is it wholesome or is it unwholesome, no matter when and what? Otherwise, can one not to go wrong when there's no understanding whether it's right or wrong? Is that the answer? Or not the answer? Wrong question, wrong answer.
I think Ajahn is asking us to consider what would be kusala on the part of the monk as recipient when receiving something given by a lay follower.
And actually it's like now, if a gift is given, there's no debt because it's given, nothing to repay because it's a gift. If the giver has some expectation of a repayment, or then it's not a gift. But for the receiver, there can be appreciation of the dana, of the kindness, of the merit of the giver. And this is kusala chitta, no matter a monk or it's us at that moment.
Of the confidence of the giver in the Sangha.
Can we say what is given and who's the giver and who's the receiver? Otherwise, we cannot say anything at all. Different situation, different moment, different aspects. We can give anyone who are in need, no matter who. Is that kusala? In need. Just to have not very bad moment, painful and so on. But who's the receiver? And what is given? Medicine or money or what? It's not just a question, but it has to be what is given and who's the receiver and who's the giver. The monk gives, the receiver is lay people or the lay people gives and the lay people receive or what? And what about monks who breaks the rule, not follow the teachings? Should we give something or money or just when he's in need, like the other in need, but not to support him to do wrong, just to cure sickness and so on, different situation, but not to support anyone to do wrong according breaking the Vinaya led by the Buddha only. Even the intention of giving has to be known too. Just to help the one who is in pain, that's all. In that very moment, that's all. Just helping the others, but not helping anyone to do wrong or breaking Vinaya. The person has such, I can say, understanding of the value of Dhamma and Vinaya. At that moment, it's not wrong, it's not akusla, but it's the way to support that person not to do wrong more and more. Am I wrong if I don't give to the monk who breaks Vinaya, who do not follow the Vinaya, no understanding, no learning the Dhamma at all? Or I don't want to push him to be born in hell.
Many of what you said need very deep reflection, Ajahn. Usually we just do things that we don't really consider very carefully, and we follow others. But what you have been teaching us is to really consider everything and understand very, very deep everything. So it's really, really special.
I think the more we consider these things, then the easier it becomes to make decisions. If we could get caught up, as Sarah said earlier, in worrying about whether I should or shouldn't give to this particular bhikkhu or something like that. We don't have to go to that extent. But by considering this area more, then it will help to make clearer in our own mind in what direction things should be going in terms of who we support, for example. And Ajahn made an important distinction between giving to a bhikkhu because he's in need, medicine, for example, to cure illness, and giving to a bhikkhu to support that bhikkhu in the bhikkhu's life and the study of the Dhamma. So we can give to any, we don't have to decide, I'm not going to give to a bhikkhu who doesn't follow the precepts or something like that. Just because a bhikkhu uses money, I shouldn't give him anything at all. Because, you know, we have our habits and our cultural environment and things go a certain way. But by considering these issues, it helps one to appreciate more what are the factors that have a bearing on giving and the recipient and the merit involved.
Rightly so.
And also it comes down to who one associates with as a matter of course, because we are aware that the factors for developing the path are associating with the right person. And we may in time appreciate that associating with say, people in robes just because they are following, just because they are members of an order, isn't really the same at all as associating with the right person. And the more we value the person who has understanding, then maybe the less likely we are to think of visiting monks for the purpose of making gifts and so forth. I'm not suggesting anyone needs to make any sudden changes in their behavior. I don't think Ajahn is either, but the more we appreciate the factors that support the development of understanding, then it takes one's life in a certain direction naturally by conditions.
That's a very good topic. Thank you, Sanlan, for the original question. I have another question. Yesterday in the discussion that we had with Lucas asked about the individual characteristic and the general characteristic. And Achan said that by knowing a characteristic is an individual characteristic, like seeing, that means that we know about anatomy of seeing because it's just a Dhamma. And I listened to that with great interest, and I found that very insightful. But then I thought, I was thinking about those people who attain the jhana, for example. They come to know very clearly the individual characteristic of, for example, Vittaka, Vichara, and so on. But they don't necessarily know them as anatta. So does that mean that unless there is the hearing of the Dhamma and knowing about the Dhamma as anatta, even when we know about the individual characteristic, it doesn't follow that there's also understanding of anatta. Do you have any comment, Achan? Thank you.
Everyone knows seeing is not hearing, right? This is not
Right.
that one, different one. But what is the true nature of that? Is it known as not so? Oh, it just seeing is different from hearing, different from thinking. But right understanding of those who develop jhana is much more different than the daily life, just thinking about this and that. That lopa is so dangerous. See, everyone can consider that. But at moment of lopa, is it known? The different moment between lopa and dosa, and see the danger of lopa and dosa and whatever is there. That's why they understand the difference between kusala and akusala. Like now we know that lopa is different from alopa, dosa is different from adosa, but is that panya enough to know the way to have no dosa, no lopa in daily life? At the degree of understanding the difference between moment of kusala and moment of kusala, but no understanding of the nature that what is there cannot be anyone at all, because it just conditioned to arise and falls away. They understand the quality when it appears, but not the quality or the nature of the reality which experiences an object. It's to him at that moment, no attachment to the sensuous object, because thinking or minding about the object which takes away from clinging to the usual object of clinging as before. And only certain time, not all the time or more. But the development of right understanding is much more subtle, because it has to begin from hearing, considering, having more understanding of the intellectual understanding, and understand the moment when it's not just the intellectual understanding, begin to understand the reality of each different one. See, different degree of understanding and of kusala. We don't know people in the old day how much understanding developed from accumulation to be able to understand the object of calmness and so on. While today, no understanding at all, just try to be calm. Much different accumulation. That's why learning to understand the difference between kusala, different stages, from dana and sila and bhavana, different kinds of bhavana, the moment of being calm in daily life. See, it's the I. Before, there can be moment of sudden anger, but after hearing, there can be patience, not to be angry so quickly, or It develops in its own different ways, but it is the moment of understanding that which is now appearing, closer or not close enough, depending on the development of understanding. And understanding is so true that it understands what level is there. As long as it's not so natural, it's impossible to eradicate the very common loba and dosa in daily life because that is not known directly as satipatthana yet, and so on. See? So understand the truth from the Buddha's word and understand more and more, not just the word calmness, tranquility, and right understanding, samadhi, and so on. That's the word. But those people in the Buddha's time and people today, different degrees, different level, different quality of understanding, depending on the individual accumulation. That's why wrong understanding is there. Just sit and be calm. That's not the teaching of the Buddha. No understanding at all. While bhavana is higher degree of understanding than just dana and sila. And just pariyati, it can be higher than that, keener than that, sharper than that, and closer than that to this moment.
And the point, Tam, I think, when Lucas asked his question about the individual and general characteristics, I asked a question to him: if there's no understanding of reality now, seeing now, for example, can anything be understood about the anatta nature of the Dhamma? And the answer is no, because understanding, seeing now, that sees what is visible now, as just the Dhamma which experiences, no one there, just the reality itself, the Dhamma there. This is actually how the development of understanding of Dhammas develops as anatta and as anicca and dukkha. If there's no understanding of seeing as a Dhamma now, that sees for a moment and is gone, how can anything be understood about the unsatisfactory nature of seeing? How can anything be known at all about the nature of seeing as anatta or anicca? So actually it's just the same. Understanding the general characteristics means understanding the nature of dhammas right now appearing with deeper and deeper understanding, penetrating the truth deeper and deeper. But when it is the understanding of realities in the development of jhana, they are not understood as dhammas. The individual characteristics of dhammas are not understood. So there cannot be any understanding of the anatta nature or the dukkha nature of those conditioned dhammas. So it's very high degree of understanding to know, even at this moment, whether it's lobha or metta for a moment. How can it be known? It's such a high degree of understanding, but it's not the understanding of lobha now as a dhamma, not anyone's lobha, just a dhamma, and metta just as a dhamma, not belonging to me or anyone, just as a dhamma. So it's a different kind of understanding, however great. And that's why, however great the understanding, however great the attainments of jhana, it can never be the right path. Those dhammas, the jhana, for example, those factors like vitakka, they can be the object of satipatthana. They can be the object of right understanding of the path. But the samatha development, the jhana attainments, the mundane jhana attainments themselves cannot be the right path, because it's not the understanding of dhammas that has been developed.
Yes, so they had to be since the very beginning, the understanding of Dhamma as anatta, hearing.
Yes.
the truth.
Understanding seeing as Dhamma is actually just the same as understanding seeing as anatta, because without understanding Dhamma, no understanding of anatta, without understanding no one there, it's not the understanding of Dhamma.
John, you asked about.
Yes, I think your question's a good one, and I don't think I know the answer in terms of how the realities are understood differently in the case of the jhana developer, mundane jhana developer, versus the person developing insight. But all I think one can say is that the person developing samatha to high degree, to jhana, the panya there understands what are the conditions for kusala and akusala. And what that person comes to understand, or what the understanding focuses on after the first jhana has been attained, is what is inhibiting even greater calm than is then being experienced. And so it's that aspect, the identifying the factor that is inhibiting the further development of the jhana. That's all I can say about it. Thanks. I notice it's almost time, so I'll let Ajahn speak now.
In truth, who knows the nature of reality as it is? We don't talk about the understanding of reality as not self, but just understanding the difference between seeing and liking, see, and being attached to the sensuous object. All day it's there, but who knows that it's dangerous when it's more and more and more and more accumulated. That's why only those who understand the dangers of attachment or akusala to the sensuous object knows that without attachment to sensuous object, it's calm. Little by little, the difference of the accumulation of each one condition the moment of understanding the danger of attachment to the sensuous object. If there's no attachment, even short or long moment, the story about trying to have it or trying to do this and that, working on and so on in daily life, is not there. Just the burden is not as heavy as when there's no understanding that it's so heavy to carry the burden on and on each moment of attachment. That's why the way to develop samatha bhavana is not easy at all, and it's not for everyone. Even the person who understands the best moment, understanding the nature of reality as not self, they do not have enough condition to develop samatha. That's why to develop samatha is not easy at all. And those who try to develop it, whether he attains or not, very few person, not all of them who develop can attain jhana. See, that's why it's beyond no thought about it. When we can understand the more precious moment of understanding than just want to be calm for some moments. That's why those people in the Buddha's time, not all of them attain jhana because it's not easy at all. That's why we talk about the moment of seeing the danger of sensuous object, but it's not our own seeing the danger of that. So we don't develop and no calmness because the way to let go even a moment of attachment in life is so very difficult. It takes how much patience not to follow attachment to the food, to whatever is there, the clothes, and whatever in life, each moment. That's why learning to understand that no matter how much calm it's there by the development of samatha to the degree of the first jhana, second up to the nivasanyana yatana, it's not as worth as understanding this moment because as long as it's not the understanding of what is there, the samsara keeps on rolling on, going on non-stop. That's why, even right now, understanding how difficult it is, comparing to the value of understanding a moment of whatever is now appearing, it takes quite longer time. Is that right? Because those people in samsara develop samatha, so many people attain samatha different degrees, but they cannot understand the truth if there's no hearing about the teachings of the enlightenment. That's why even in the Buddha's time, not all Arya Sangha develop samatha. Only those like the Mahasavaka, for example, have such degree of understanding, both samatha and vipassana. But before understanding the way to realize the Arya Satya, they can develop just only kusala to the degree of high jhana. That's all. But after hearing the teaching, no one developed samatha. It does mean that when there is the understanding of the value, great value of understanding Dhamma, they still have condition to develop samatha. But they had developed before hearing about vipassana and the path Arya Satya. That's why after hearing, no one would like to spend time developing that which is not the moment of beginning to understand the truth. It's not self, anatta. Does anyone would like to develop samatha? If it's like that, is the understanding of the precious moment of understanding, even from hearing at level of intellectual understanding. Right
Whenever
now,
there's opportunity, then samatha can be developed.
it develops by way of anatta, or I try to develop it. Different levels of understanding.
And when it's I try, no understanding, no kusala calm at those moments.
Thank you so much, Ajahn and Junim Tiara.
Thank you, Ajahn.
Next week we still have a question from Tiny Tim, so we can continue next week. It was really great. Thank you so much.
I couldn't quite understand Tiny Tum's question. She posted it on the chat, so perhaps she could elaborate a little bit for next week. That would be helpful. Thanks.